Welcome to eAssist Growing Your Dental Business podcast. Tune in as the experts in dental business share tips and tools to grow your practice. To learn more, visit dentalbilling.com. Please welcome our next guest.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Growing Your Dental Business podcast. It's Jacqueline here, and today I am talking to Brenda McNulty about the difference between being a consultant and being a fractional training officer. You know, we had a conversation about this recently, and I was so intrigued, and I know that you're going to love what she has to say about that. So I'm just going to introduce Brenda. Brenda is a powerhouse in the dental world with over 30 years of experience. She offers a rich variety of tools to help dentists and their teams. She's the brain behind DSO Facts, which is her company at dsofacts.net. And I went to her website, and facts meaning fractional, accountability, coaching, and training simplified. And so I love that acronym. She has the knowledge and expertise to tackle any challenge. Her secret sauce is a personalized approach that brings out the very best in every team member, whether they're working remotely or in the office. She's really good at tapping into individual strengths and boosting productivity and success. When she's not busy revolutionizing dental teams, she is captivating audiences as a sought-after speaker at top dental events, and I love that too. I looked at your list of things that you can talk on, and it's just a never-ending supply, Brenda. I love it. So I remember the first time I met Brenda is we were kind of instant friends, and I had several conversations with my colleague before I even met her, who kind of mentioned she would love to hire her. So I think that's probably the best compliment you can ever get from anyone.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, so I learned about her energy and her passion before I ever even met her. So thank you. Welcome, Brenda. I'm glad you're here today.
I'm so excited to be here. It seems like this has been in the works for a long time, and I just love speaking to you too. And your colleague, she's top notch.
I do love her too. So, you know, I don't even know how you got into the dental industry. I was thinking about that when I was trying to put together some thoughts about around our podcast, and I would love to for you to share a little bit about how you got into dentistry and then how your career evolved into what you're doing now, where you are helping dental practices transform into something better than they already are.
Well, I certainly didn't grow up thinking I was going to work in the dental industry. I did not like the dentist, and I kind of fell into it. I'm a volunteer at heart. I volunteer for pretty much anything that comes up. And I was stationed on Camp Pendleton with my husband at the time. And it was during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And they had deployed way too many troops overseas and they didn't have enough dental assistants. So they put out a call to action. And I said, oh, they need volunteers to become dental assistants. I'll go through the Naval Dental Training Program. So I became a dental assistant way back in the day, over 30 years ago.
Wow.
And once I finished my time on base and went into the civilian world, I quickly realized that I was not a very good dental assistant. Assisting for the Navy, I only did amalgam fillings. Pretty much that was it. And I didn't even do my own sterilization or anything. So when I got out into town in the civilian life, first thing I did is put a high-speed handpiece in the ultrasonic. Learned real quick that you can't do that. And the second thing, I just really could not make a temporary crown to save my life. It got so bad that the doctors actually would send me out of the room instead of assisting. They preferred to just assist themselves. But when I was out of the room, I found a calling for things like insurance and the softwares and the technology. And I helped our office become a chartless office. I learned the ins and outs to pretty much every business aspect. And since I already had that clinical background, it really helped with case acceptance. So after I finished that first initial job in the civilian world, I went on to become an office manager and regional director for some DSOs and a consultant for many, many years. and then actually worked utilizing remote team members and training them. So it's been a long time in the making, 30 years. I have great praise for any dental assistant, any hygienist, or any dentist because I can't do it. And I did find what I could do. So that's how I came to be. And I love what I do. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Oh, I can imagine. It's great to hear your story because I feel like you kind of went through the clinical route and ended up in the business route. And now I even know more why people wanted to hire you. So just because listening to your whole story, I'm like, okay, I get it. You're a perfect fit for anyone in the dental industry just learning anything. So I know you've worked a lot with practices, and I know we had this conversation about, I don't really consider myself a consultant. I consider myself a fractional training officer. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, definitely not a diss on consulting. I was a consultant for over 10 years, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But what the teams were struggling with is after I left with all of these great ideas and I had been lecturing for 8 hours straight, they had a really hard time implementing and holding their team accountable. In fact, the highest phrase that I would get all the time, or not the highest, most common phrase that I would get all the time from a dentist is, I told them, you told them, but they just weren't seeing any action. So, what I see as having a consultant is when you have people on your team that are implementers, you have people on your team that can take the information and run with it. Great. You probably only need a consultant to give you all of that great information. And I love consulting. It's easier, in my opinion, than being a fractional training officer because what I do is I stay connected to that office to make sure that they are implementing and that the team is held accountable to everything that I train them on. So
Wow.
it's, there's so many good people out there that have wonderful information. And many times you can take that information and you can run with it. But there are offices that are like, well, do you ever have to leave? Can you just stay here and help us? So that's what a fractional training officer is a fraction of my time is left in that office to make sure that they implement and they hold their team members accountable to the training.
Wow, that's awesome. That's such a great way to explain it. A fraction of your time. I think that's such a perfect definition. And I love the accountability piece. I know as part of your website or your business name, facts, right? That accountability piece is right there front and center with fractional. And so I think it all makes sense. I mean, if you go to all the work to train someone and you're not going to hold them accountable, then, why go to all the work to train them?
That's exactly right. And when I say holding somebody accountable, we're not talking about micromanaging. So let's say I train on one particular topic and I say, okay, great. How are we going to implement this? So the whole team gets together. We design an implementation plan. It's not Brenda's plan, it's the team's plan. And then we'd say, okay, so now how do you want to be held accountable? So, Jacqueline, if I'm training you on the verbal skills for no shows, cancellations, and reschedules, and we've come up with this implementation plan, how are we going to do it? Then I say, okay, so we all know, right? Wonderful. Jacqueline, how do you want me to hold you accountable? What does that plan look like? And then you can tell me, oh, I want you to listen to my phone calls. I want us to role play. I want us to do this, this, and this to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. So I go, I think that's a great idea. So you choose in your office who's going to hold you accountable. It might be me, but it might be another team member, and what that accountability piece looks like.
Wow, I love it. I love the buy-in that you offer by the people being trained. You learn that in life in general, you know that as a parent, you need to get the buy-in from your kids if they're going to jump on board and be held accountable for the things that they're doing. And it's the same in training, in business, in other environments too. I love that you've kind of brought that piece into play as well. So, I know that you have worked with in-office team members and also remote team members. how does your day-to-day training, I mean, how do you, I guess you probably have a similar approach because you're teaching, but you're obviously teaching different aspects of the the business as well. So go into that a little bit and how you break that down.
Sure. Well, as you know, there's so many different outsourcing companies and remote team members that there are. Sometimes that training piece is about culture. This is what you can say to somebody that is a patient in my American office. This is something that you wouldn't say. So sometimes it is the culture built in. I feel like a lot of the times it's more, this is the value you bring to the practice. This is what we're looking for. And this is how we know if you're going to be successful. So we talk about clear communication plus clear expectations are what is going to deliver outstanding results. And sometimes having that big picture with the remote team members who don't get to share in the daily huddle sometimes, or don't get to really be part of a bonus structure or something with rewards and get lunch. We have to find other ways to be all inclusive with them. But from an owner's perspective, one of the tasks that I am often hired to do is to analyze these outsourcing companies or these remote team members to make sure that they are having a return on investment. So that's one of the things with eAssist, the fact that they have a portion, a percentage of the work that the team members are doing. That means that they can work extra hard. And yes, you're going to pay more, but you're not really paying more, are you? You're paying a percentage versus having a full-time team member that I'm going to have to make sure that they're doing the right amount of verifications or posting the right amount of money. There's a vested interest in the success of the practice. And sometimes we have to create that vested interest in the success of the practice.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. There's always change happening in the practice, and thank you for bringing eAssist into it. And I know sometimes it might be hard to get the business team to buy into a third-party dental billing company. So, have you found the biggest struggle teams face when embracing change, and how do you help them overcome those types of obstacles?
We call that yeah, but disease. Yeah, but our patients won't want to speak to somebody that isn't in the office. Yeah, but I've been posting payments for 15 years and I'm not going to give that up. Other people make mistakes. Yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. And what I have found, I used to be like very argumentative with these people, like, well, that's what we're doing it this way. Right. And I've realized that the yeah, but is simply an obstacle that I need to figure out what it is. So I ask open ended questions like, tell me more. What would it mean to you if you had all of this time from posting payments now to focus on our mission and vision of the patient being the number one priority? And now you're going to have time to do case acceptance and you're going to be able to talk to the patients like you used to. What would that mean to you? So I'm asking a lot of open ended questions when people are giving me a lot of pushback. One of my favorite is, but what if it did work? What would that look like? What if it did work?
Yeah.
And sometimes just opening their eyes to the perspective. And you can't always hire people in different markets. It's a really bad hiring plateau. There's nobody else available, or you're going to get somebody and you're going to have to like compromise the quality, compromise your morals or your standards to get somebody in the door just to have a warm body.
Mhm.
And do our team members really want to do that? Do you really want to train Stacy who's going to leave in 6 months? So the Yabut disease is alive and well in so many offices, and it's just figuring out why they're saying what they're saying. Sometimes they don't know the what behind the why.
Sure. Well, I love the why not? What if it does work? I love that question. What if it does work? And one thing I know about eAssist is they earn your business. They don't have a long-term agreement or anything. It's a month-to-month thing. So if they are doing good on you and what if it does work, then it's just month to month and you can kind of see how it goes. And there's always change in the industry, so you never know. And I know the hiring process has been a little bit limited lately with, like you say, just if you just want something more than just a warm body, then it might be an idea just to, offer a third party solution. So that's great. So what motivates you? I'm curious about what motivates you to keep pushing for excellence in the industry?
Appreciate that question because behind this dental Brenda, there's a different side of Brenda, and I'm a faith filled person. Everything behind my company was all built on faith. You'll see that on my website, and that's my motivation. It's to be honest, if you want to break it all the way down, it's to make money so that I can donate more, so that I can tithe more, so that I can leave this world a better place than how I found it. That's really what that is. And I look at things like some of my clients who are really struggling, and they're like, I want to give my team members raises. I want to be able to offer these retirement benefits, but right now I'm not making a large enough profit to be able to do that. That's my motivation factor. Like, oh, yeah? Game on. Let's go. I think I can get you there. And let's look at all of your stats and let's see where that extra income is going to come from. And in turn, of course, I'm going to have an income that I can tithe and donate to as well. And I have a lot of different charitable causes. And one of my favorite ones is we don't realize how spoiled we are sometimes in America. And
Sure.
there's other countries where they're barely making ends meet, but yet they still have to pay for even public school. And
Yeah.
there are people that are struggling to put their children in school. And I came across a story of a woman who was going to have to, her child was going to have to go through sixth grade again, or the
Mm,
equivalent to sixth grade again, because they didn't have the money to pay for the testing to
mm.
test out of the sixth grade to move on to the seventh grade.
Oh,
And when
wow.
I heard that, it just broke my heart because I'm thinking, it's not the kid's fault. It's really not the parents' fault that they don't have this money. So one of the charities that I support pays school tuition fees for children in different countries. And
Oh,
I love Zimbabwe. I love the culture. I love everything. But the fact that they have to pay for school, it just pulls at my heartstrings. So
oh, I
that's
love
that's my
that.
why. That's what I do.
I love that about you, Brenda. Well, I noticed on your website, I know from the minute I've met you, you are a faith-filled person and I love that about you. And you are so willing to share prayers and love and your faith with everyone. So thank you so much for being you. I appreciate that so much. Is
Oh,
there
thank you.
is there anything else you would like to talk about before we wrap up today?
I would like to say that every practice has potential. You may not be able to see it, but someone else can. There's a lot of dental professionals out there that are willing to help any dentist that reaches out. Sometimes it's a matter of finding one thing, that one jewel in the rough, you might say, that a consultant or a fractional training officer is able to find. It's you making the call to reach out and get the help that you need for your practice in order to be successful. And the one call to action, you might say, is let me help you find that. Go to my website, do a I want to hear more, or I'm ready to get started, whatever you like. Click on that button and let's have a conversation about the potential that you might have within your practice. Now, Jacqueline, you hit on something really big. Yes, faith is a huge important part of me, and you can see that all over my website.
Mhm.
I'm not everybody's flavor of Kool-Aid, but I'm not going to apologize for who I am. So my website is also very faith-based. There's a spot on there that people can request prayers if they want, and I have a prayer team that does it. But bottom line is, I put it out there so you can see what it is that you're going to get if you want to partner with me for success.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that because I just think that's just is who you are. And that's a big part of, and when I looked at your website, I was like, I love it. She will pray with people. She will pray for people. She will, there's so many things that you will do to help people. And I too am a faith-based person, and I believe God has a hand in our lives, and all we have to do is pray and ask, and he will definitely be there for us. So thank you so much. Brenda, you are about raising the bar and inspiring excellence. And I feel like you do leave a legacy of transformation wherever you go. I think any practice would be just so blessed to have you in their life. So if they're looking, or if you are looking for a thought leader who can make a real impact, definitely reach out to Brenda's website. I would love for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate you being here. I appreciate, this podcast is sponsored by eAssist Dental Solutions. And I did not ask Brenda to talk about eAssist today. She just kind of naturally pulled us in, and it kind of brought in. But if you are looking to up your revenue cycle management, please go to dentalbilling.com. We would love to see you and see what we can do to help you with your revenue cycle management, because I think eAssist Dental Solutions can make a difference for you. So thank you again, Brenda. I have loved visiting with you today, and I hope that you have a great rest of your week, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
The purpose of this podcast is to interview the consultants within our eAssist Consultant Network. This podcast is for informational purposes only. For more details, please visit the homepage of this podcast platform at dentalbilling.com. Thanks for listening.